Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. It is a real honor to be here with you today. And just wanted to extend our greetings to all of you. But I especially want to thank the student delegates, the faculty, and really the entire W&L community. It's a real honor. Thank you, Brandon Allred, for the kind introduction. It was my pleasure to be here with my friend and colleague, Shelley Capito. Isn't she awesome? And I'm definitely taking her message to heart. We do need more Republican women in Congress. I also want to thank Tricia King for her work as General Chair in hosting another terrific convention here at W&L. Our gathering here and the state of our nation today emphasize really the timelessness of W&L's motto, non incautus futuri, meaning not unmindful of the future. Not unmindful of your future and our country's future. Let me start by looking at the past. Washington Lee's proud past includes the establishment of 3 traditions shortly after the Civil War by its president at that time, General Robert E. Lee. Those 3 traditions help shape the future of this university, and they really can help shape the future of our country. The first was an honor system run by students. The second was a tradition of speaking out about the course of the country and its leadership, exemplified by this convention. And the third was an emphasis on national unity, characterized by the recruitment of students from both the North and South at a time when the country was deeply polarized. Giving young people the responsibility to uphold these 3 traditions will help steer our country just as it has steered W&L toward an exceptional future. And I use the word exceptional because America has traditionally believed that it merits that description. But to earn an accolade is not merely to declare it. It is insufficient just to talk it. It's necessary to live it, to walk it. I therefore issue this challenge, and a challenge to each of our citizens of this country, to our country's leaders, that they measure their mettle against these questions related to W&L's traditions. What about our country's honor code makes us exceptional? What high standards should our citizens be held to? Who or what should enforce our honor code? What are the subjects that the times demand you speak out on regarding the direction and leadership of this, our exceptional country? What do we have to do to be worthy of exceptionalism, individually and collectively? And what should we do to stretch ourselves to further excellence? What must be done to produce exceptional national unity to lift this country to ever higher achievement in many arenas? Again, I believe the answers to those questions go back to W&L's honor code, where 2 virtues intersect: responsibility and freedom. I believe that freedom is the outgrowth of responsible behavior. I do not believe that the granting of freedom necessarily results in responsibility. The few students who have broken W&L's honor code have demonstrated that truth. But where responsibility plants seeds, not just freedom, but also opportunity and success can grow. And let me illustrate that by telling you about my grandmother. She came to this country as a young woman, at the turn of the last century to escape the pogroms, the slaughter, attacks, and religious persecution against Jews like her in her native Russia. She settled a couple of hours down the road from here in my hometown of Richmond. For my grandmother, the dream of coming to America was based on her belief in our nation's honor, in our exceptionalism. She believed the United States to be a place of opportunity and a potentially better life for her children. As you can imagine, in the early 20th century, the South wasn't often the most accepting place for a young Jewish woman. It was a time of extreme fear, some discrimination, certainly, against blacks and Jews, among others. Widowed by age 30, my grandmother raised my father and my uncle in a small apartment above the tiny grocery store that she and my grandfather had opened. She worked day and night, sacrificed tremendously to secure a better future for her two sons. And this young woman, who had the courage to journey to a distant land with hope as her only possession, lifted herself into the ranks of the middle class. And through her hard work, her thrift, and her faith, she was even able to send her two children to college. All she wanted was a chance, a fair shot at making a better life for her two sons. And I will tell you, if she were still alive today, she'd be blown away by the thought that her grandson is a member of the United States House, much less the majority leader of the U.S. House of Representatives. Today, President Obama is saying in many of his speeches that, quote, if we work together with common purpose, we can build an economy that gives everybody a fair shot. Now, I'm glad that the President is using the term fair shot for all Americans. It's an idea that I've spent a lot of time thinking and talking about, and it's part of what America's honor code should be. But the President's concept of a fair shot and mine differ. It's not a fair shot when Democrats and the President keep shooting down policies aimed at making the American economy and American society exceptional. To me, what makes our country so special is that no matter who you are or where you come from or what your background is, you can get ahead. If you work hard and play by the rules, everyone in America should have a fair shot at earning success. Now, Republicans in the House have done our part. We passed a budget to pay down debt and stimulate the economy. But the President has rejected that and pilloried Republicans as the party that favors the rich. Now, what is rich is the President's recent adaptation of language many Republicans have been using for the last 3 years regarding the challenges that we all face. Now, let me quote from a recent speech by the President in which he called for a renewal of American values, hard work, responsibility, the same set of rules for everybody, from Wall Street to Main Street. Speaking of needed renewals of values, later in that same speech, the President referenced fair play. Fair enough. But while the President has co-opted how we Republicans talk, he has certainly not co-opted how we Republicans walk. America's honor code, as we see it, stems from our nation's Constitution, which calls for limited government and the primary power residing in our citizens and their state governments. President Obama has demonstrated by his healthcare and financial reforms that he believes that working together means a collaboration, giving disproportionate power, including mandates and regulatory overreach, to the federal government. In the President's State of the Union address, he said, "I laid out a vision of how we move forward. I laid out a blueprint for an economy built to last." But the President's very use of a term like an economy built to last calls on all of us to recall that long-standing tradition at W&L. We must speak out on subjects regarding the direction, the leadership of this great country. Now, you see, free, flourishing economies are not built to last, least of all by government technocrats, bureaucrats, and autocrats. Exceptional economies are built to grow, and that growth is generated by the intersection of personal responsibility and personal freedom. Prosperous, dynamic, job-producing, innovative economies are free markets, regulated by government controls on lawless behavior, but not strangled by governments bent on setting industrial policies or forcing marketplace mandates. It is revealing that in many of his past speeches, President Obama has referred to the economy as a car, which he claims was driven into a ditch by Republican policies. The language once again reveals a president with a very unusual view of our economy, that it is a machine similar to a car. But a successful economy is not a machine, which can be built and re-engineered, jiggered with finely tuned for maximum efficiency by elected or appointed officials, whether they be the federal government or the Federal Reserve. A successful economy does not grow from a machine-like construction by government. It grows from the somewhat chaotic but wonderfully inventive and creative networking and interactions of people, sellers and buyers in a free market. Far from being built to last, a prosperous economy is built to evolve, adapt, even mutate into previously unimagined forms, with a maximum of freedom exercised by intelligence, ingenuity, and imagination of the economic innovators among us. If an economy were built to last, we'd still be relying on candles for illumination, relying on horses for transportation, and relying on quill pens for written communications. Now, that's not an economy built to last. That's one built to come in last. Recently, I had the privilege of sitting down with one of our nation's leading innovators and listening to his story. It's a story of a young boy who was born in Russia and immigrated to the United States at the age of 6 with his family. Like his father and grandfather before him, he studied math and computer science. He excelled in both subjects. He enrolled at the University of Maryland, where he would stay up all night, tackling his studies and coming up with ideas. After graduation, he moved to Stanford University to follow his passion of earning a PhD in computer science. There, in a crammed dorm room, he and his roommate worked day and night. He had an idea. He wanted to revolutionize how information is found online. Using math to organize the web, they designed a system to help navigate the endless sea of information on the internet. That innovator was Sergey Brin, and the idea they had became Google. Not only has Google revolutionized our everyday life, It has reshaped the entire technology industry. Today, Sergey Brin and his partner Larry Page are billionaires. Now, President Obama believes that a way to re-engineer America economically is to raise taxes, not only on billionaires like the founders of Google, but also on much less wealthy people, whom he, the president, mysteriously conflates with a billionaire like investor Warren Buffett. Now, here's what the president says. Let's follow the Buffett rule, named after Warren. If you make more than $1 million a year, you should pay a tax rate of at least 30%. Now, let me tell you something. We don't need a Buffett rule. We need a buffer rule. A buffer is a shield to protect against the harm and hostility of an intrusive government. I mean, let's look at reality. First of all, many people whom the president talks about are small to medium-sized businesses, owners, men and women who create most of the new jobs in an economy stalled by the built-to-last, top-down control policies of the current administration. Secondly, beware of the phrase, at least 30%. Much of what President Obama characterizes as lightly taxed income comes from investments, the kind of investments that grow new businesses and create new jobs. If this kind of income gets taxed heavier and redistributed, supposedly to other citizens, but largely to big government, what do you think those millionaires and few billionaires are going to do? Will the future Sergey Brins, maybe people like you, be inclined to grow, invest, and hire under these type of policies? The president says that he has to tax the biggest generators of growth in our economy because of what he calls basic math. The need for government to spend more and then supposedly pay down the debt. However, the president's math is a math of division, dividing the country into a war between rich and poor. Countries that play this game end up losing their economic prosperity, losing their freedom, and yes, losing their honor. In contrast, our vision, the Republican vision, is a math of multiplication, multiplying job creation, innovation, and experimentation by multiplying the money and power given back to hard-working individuals and taken away from bureaucrats. This will lead to job and business formation by small businessmen and women, entrepreneurs and investors. It's a vision of multiplication by getting rid of government red tape that is hampering the growth of the private economy. It is a vision of multiplied choices. This includes patient-driven health care that will lead to lower costs, and more competition and market-driven energy development that will narrow our dependency on oil-producing foreign countries that are hostile to us. Look, the president's machine-like view of an economy breaks it down into limited working parts, which technocrats like the president believe can be resized and redistributed. On the other hand, a dynamic growth economy powered by people and the private exchanges creates infinite working parts. These parts are unlimited in size and number and provide rising prosperity. That doesn't make everyone rich, but it does give everyone a fair shot at a bigger pie of wealth in our society. Now, this begs the question that I asked earlier. What do we have to do to be worthy of exceptionalism? And what should we do to stretch ourselves to further excellence? What must be done to produce exceptional national unity, to lift the country ever higher in any area of achievement? The truth is, we're not growing enough small businesses that power the hiring and expansion of our economy. In the past 3 years, the number of new businesses launched each year has fallen an unprecedented 23%. Why? The simple answer is it has become too expensive to start your business. Time and again, CEOs say to me that there's no way I could start a business today. The environment has put too many obstacles in front of small businessmen and women, period. In order to reclaim the promise and spirit that brought my grandmother to our shore, and the same promise that brought families like those of Sergey Brin here, we must restore the trust between our government and its people. Government must be downsized, and the private sector must be upsized. We must restore the opportunity for entrepreneurialism that drives Americans to succeed. We must encourage more entrepreneurs to start small businesses and provide the environment so risk takers will again take risks. This is where the jobs will come from. And our efforts should be focused on creating that environment to foster that kind of job creation. That is why I propose a 20% small business tax cut to help the backbone of our economy, American small business people. We need to get government out of the way so inventors, investors, and all are more freely able to begin to look at and invest in startups. So let's all commit to being bold. I believe it's time for a rebirth of that American dream. We should all aspire to success. We should all dream to achieve. Restoring the American dream, restoring prosperity, restoring not a guarantee of outcome, but a fair shot at opportunity will dramatically reduce the polarization that afflicts America. A rising economic tide allows boats to float closer to one another. The goal shouldn't be to take from those who've been successful and give to those at the bottom and expect our problems to be solved. We shouldn't be about wealth redistribution. Republicans believe that what is fair is a hand up, not a handout. The debate that we're going to have in this country over the course of this year will be about what kind of country we want to be. Do we want to be an America of independence or dependence? An America rising or declining? The debate this year will also be a referendum on the president's machine economy, which he wants built to last. But unfortunately, that puts us on a machine called a government-run treadmill designed to run us to unlimited federal spending and economic exhaustion. Now, some people who come from a very different perspective than mine would encourage you to rage against the machine of the forces they oppose. I counter with the suggestion to engage against the machine of a government that sees you as a cog in the machinery of an economy and a society that they think they can design and run better than free individuals in a free market. The alternative is what I have referred to as a ladder of success. Its rungs are work, faith, family, and opportunity. And the ladder is ascended by people power, not government power. So instead of spending time trying to push those at the top down the ladder, elected leaders in Washington should be trying to create a fair playing field so that everyone has a fair shot and the opportunity to earn success. Washington should want all people to move up the ladder and no people to be pulled down just because they've succeeded and gotten to a higher rung. Now look, we must ensure that those who abuse the rules are punished. We must ensure that the solution to wealth disparity is wealth mobility. We must give everyone the chance to move up the ladder. And that does mean punishing unlawfulness, but not punishing success. Now, Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, one of the most influential books of the 20th century, had a vision that I share. On the east coast of this country stands the Statue of Liberty, but on the west, said Frankl, should stand a statue of responsibility. In my vision, when these two statues join hands, the American people create a bridge that spans the whole country, a bridge of opportunity. And on the pillars of that bridge, I propose that we lay a foundation where those who are successful extend a hand to those who wish to climb. It is you, the successful leaders of the future, who can be the designers and the erectors of that bridge. Engage against the machine. It is time to restore the American dream. D, deliver economic and jobs growth. R, reduce debt, spending, and big government. E, empower individuals to run their own lives. A, allow free markets to improve areas like healthcare and energy. M, make America more innovative, competitive, and secure. With exceptional effort, we can become again and continue to be an exceptional country. The country that inspired my family and countless others to dream. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.